PK52, the Saturday morning meeting, continuation on Camry and really just in general with Toyota. We're going to talk about TSS and TSSP. The features that I've picked to talk about today are the auto high beams, and I'm going to do two today, and I'm going to talk about dynamic radar cruise control. So let's understand, when I have a conversation with a customer about safety, depending on how I open this conversation, they really have a choice. Is safety important to you? Is safety not important to you? Given the choice between those two options, most of our customers are going to say, well, yeah, safety is always important. And so we have the ability to have a conversation that the customer is going to listen to. When I started selling cars way back in the day, they told us to do a 7-position walk around. Start under the hood, move around the car, tell the customer everything we knew about the car. Obviously, in this market today, I absolutely believe that is the wrong thing to do unless the customer asks you for a 7-position walk around. If you're talking about something that doesn't interest the customer at all, you're not moving forward in the sale, you're actually moving away from the sale, because once they get bored or disconnect from you, then the information you're giving them is really just a waste of time. So with the customers today doing all their research, we need to find out what's most important, and with one exception, and I think that exception is the safety conversation. I can't expect my customers to know exactly how all this safety technology works, because I can't expect all of you guys at the time where you are right now to understand exactly how to do safety presentations, because the technology is difficult to understand. And difficult to understand also means difficult to explain it to somebody that has no concept. So let's start with a couple of easy ones, and then we'll move on through the next couple of weeks, and I'm going to try to shorten these videos as much as I possibly can. Auto high beams. You are safer at night, you can see farther, you can react more timely if your high beams are on. Here's the problem. Last year I was driving on a back road, I had my high beams on, and I passed another car. I did not dim my lights. Should have, didn't. Didn't dim my lights. Lights came on, car whipped around. It was a state trooper, he pulled me over. He wanted to find out, why I didn't dim my lights, had I been drinking and everything. He walked up, he said, have you been drinking tonight? And I said, no, because I hadn't been drinking. He goes, why didn't you dim your lights? And I said, you know what? That's on me. I was thinking, driving, wasn't paying attention. You know what? Auto high beams would have made sure that never happened. So that's an example that really happened to me. So the thing about it is when you're driving in a situation where you need to see, and bring up the story. I'm driving in an area during a time of the year when animals are out at night. Small deer. I mean, if you're up north, an elk. If you're in Alaska, a moose. I don't want to hit like a small rodent, but I certainly don't want to hit something as big as my car. And so the auto high beams give you the ability to be able to see something further down the road, wider in periphery, and react more timely. So obviously that's something we want on every single car. 25 miles an hour or above, the system can be activated. And the way it works is the camera in the front of the car can see an oncoming headlight and dim the lights. In the back, it can actually see the lights, the tail lamps, and anything reflective of your headlamps. And once it becomes bright enough, it'll dim the lights. Very easy to explain. The result of the technology, could save, I don't know, I like this one. There's so many people that live in neighborhoods now, and towns are growing, so these neighborhoods become more and more congested. People are parked on the street because the driveways are smaller and the houses are closer together. And you're driving through the street and there's kids playing in the street, and you never would have saw that child come out of that yard from behind the car into the street. But with your high beams on, with more light in the periphery, you can see them playing ahead and you can adjust your speed accordingly. That one situation right there, can you imagine, what would happen if you didn't see that child? So a dramatic presentation like that makes you stop and pause and think, and there's value. If there's value in your presentation, there's more value in the car. Second thing I want to talk about today is full speed dynamic radar cruise control. So cruise control came along as I was selling cars, and we didn't have cruise on cars when I first started selling cars. The coolest thing about it is you're on an open highway and you set your cruise control at 65 miles an hour. You can now just drive the car. You don't have to worry about working your feet, and that became great. But now in traffic, The problem is that if I'm going 65 and I come up behind somebody going 60, I've either got to knock down my cruise 5 miles an hour to match their speed, or I've got to turn my cruise off and drive the car again. The cool thing about the dynamic radar cruise control is it uses the camera, and the camera can see items or objects in front of you. And it also uses a millimeter wave radar. And I know it's hard for people to understand, but let's talk about it. World War II had two endings, 1944 and 1946. We could have a battleship on top of the ocean using millimeter wave radar, and we could locate a submarine in the depths of the ocean. So it's not like the technology is some kind of space age thing. You know, we've had it for, I don't know, I mean, we're getting close to a century now if you really think about it. So what we've done is we've adapted it into a car. So I'm driving down the road and I've got three settings. I've got the short, the medium, and the long. Short is about's the word you want to use, about 100 feet. So it's going to try to hold you at that distance. So you drive up at your 65 miles an hour, the car in front of you is going 60, it will match that 60 at 100 feet, and you stay right there. 165 for the middle distance, and 245 feet approximately for the longer distance. 300 feet is a football field, so you can kind of get your mind wrapped around exactly how far that is. So by using this technology, again, you can engage this above 25 miles an hour. So I can be driving in a slow-moving traffic situation as long as traffic's moving, and I can really set my cruise control as long as the pattern's going, if we're going 40 miles an hour in a congested highway, and it's going to keep my spacing. And you know what happens when you're in a congested situation, somebody's always moving in. So if they move in on you, it'll move you back again. So being able to show that customer that on a test drive is really awesome because they can functionally see how that would be beneficial. So adding value back to the system adds value to your presentation. Most of them have a conceived price point where they want to be in payment or price on the car when they come into the dealership. Our goal as a salesperson is to show them something on the vehicle that adds value that they didn't really think about before. By adding that value, it means the value of the car just went up. The greater the value of the car, the easier it is for the customer to say yes. This has been PK52, the beginning of TSS and TSSP. I hope you like the shorter vignette. Remember, customers are going to be driving distracted. And I want to say this real quick because the millennials get the brunt of all this conversation. All they do is drive and text. Okay, when I was growing up, you could be going down the highway and pass somebody and they had a paperback novel on the steering wheel and they were reading a book. So as long as there's cars, as long as there's long driving distance, people are going to drive distracted. Adding technology that makes it safer to drive while the other people are driving is always a value. PK52, the Saturday morning meeting.